race opportunities in favor of LFM, even though they're down the talent here thanks to the Hanzo. Invade over the Giants, though, not going to be given for free here.
Yeah, no 16 talent tier, so no risk of Fury and the stage dive coming in there as he's dealing with the camp on the top lane. But for Simplicity, really curious on the next Temple phase. If it's solo Temple phase, then see if they can play around it. Use that global, use that macro control that they have. That's going to be their best chance. If it's double Temple phase, then it's definitely in favor of Simplicity, but it is going to be directly in the middle. LFM need to pick up 16 somewhere in the middle of that. Just curious if Simplicity is going to have that wherewithal within them to get that macro control around this global. They have the siege camp that just spawned as well, and Simplicity, actually, they're looking to get control through the boss.
Pretty clever play there, and the fact that Zuno was able to identify that 3 people were up on the top half of the battleground just willing to deal with him alone. Hanzo is still on that camp at the night camp, but he's not going to capture it, so they don't know. Brush Talk has already come in along with the Stormbolt and the Isolation. Boss Slam coming through. Dragon's Arrow only lands onto 1. The Lornado goes down, swaps along with the stage dive here onto the point. Twilight Dream actually gets interrupted there. Look at that penetrating round. Knocks off 2 members off of the boss here. 1 for nothing here in favor of Simplicity as the boss looks to get picked up. Simplicity pick it up for themselves. Another victim there for LFM. And it looks like this might be all she wrote there. 3 members of LFM, live victim, and a boss marching through bot.
Yeah, and there's not much left because they were able to control the majority of that last Temple phase through those team fights. Now this boss makes its way directly to the keep. They're not willing to go towards that Temple just yet, which means that they're going to move forward, posture up, see if they can maybe end the game right here, right now. King Caffeine, I was going to say, it's all about him making that dive in. Unable to complete that, but this boss still very healthy as they make their way to the core.
Yeah, they're going to go ahead and make this march. Hanzo not up for 7 seconds. Dragon's Arrow not available for another 13. Simplicity doing work when it comes to the shielding for now. Hosey is going to be the members that LFM have to focus on. Fury lands the power slide, 70% and counting there. Not enough damage done onto the boss. And Simplicity fight and bite back here in game 3 and take a lead in this series 2-1.
ETC, man, just he has a tough time in North American meta. I think he's a very narrow niche hero. I think maybe a Garrosh counter for just the constant knockbacks, but outside of that stage dive, it's hard. There's way too many interrupts for Mosh Pit anymore. ETC just so difficult in that situation, but Simplicity, I mean, credit to them. I mean, they just sat on stage dive. Welcome to the fight. Here's a root, here's a Ring of Frost, and they exploded him every single time. Every time.
Yeah, I think you're highlighting not only some of the maybe struggles of Fury there onto the ECC, but also for me, the compliments of having K1 Pro back on a Jaina, and moving over towards some of his more classic heroes, because again, that one fight where really the team fight was just, it was not even close. It was the moment where Simplicity was gaining the upper hand. There was a full interrupt on Twilight Dream. It was a perfectly timed face mount from Fury, almost everything he could do in that situation. And Jaina still, with Icy Veins, keep in mind, not even with the chill and Roots opportunity post 16, was just like, yeah, I can kill him. It's all good. Just wiped him. And so that shows, I think, not only, again, the synergy and kind of outplay on Simplicity's end, but maybe some of the reasons he's kind of walking his way out of the meta.
Not in North America, apparently. I mean, day number 1, he's coming out. I think it might start to shift. I think he's, again, more situational hero. But it was weird because, I'm trying to break it down, right? You look at one part of the fight, but then there's a whole nother part of the fight going on. Zuna straight up zoned everybody out. Him and King Caffeine going in on Murd, and they sat on that back line. There was no way those Leeming skill shots were getting in. They couldn't get the takedowns on that. Hanzo having trouble to find the angles when you have so much pressure in your face. But the fact that you're able to instantly blow up a tank on the other side and completely deny any aggression at all, I mean, that was very well played by Simplicity in those team fights. And yes, I think the plays were definitely there, but you got to give credit to King Caffeine and Zuna getting that counter aggression there. And they're like, that's fine. Like, you guys take care of this. We'll take care of this. And if they want to stick around after this, then you can kill them too. But the rest of LFM's like, all right, we're done. We're sorry.
Yeah.
They just walked away.
Yeah, the only way, I think they maybe could recover from that in the middle of the game when things kind of got sour is, and by no means do I go like, should this player identify this? This is more of like the only way I see this game turning around. It would be, again, Chimera. He has to be able to hit a Lornado with the stage dive. They have to be using synergy so that you get the initiation demanded, but you don't get the ETC into a one-shot situation and somehow, make something happen there, or at least get such a high-impact Lornado opener that the stage dive is just bringing a body there rather than having kind of impact to the play. And Again, I don't put that on Dark Chimera by any means as much as I do just great play from Simplicity. And suddenly it makes the series that much harder because, again, I feel like games 1 and 2, I was looking at LFM. I was like, those should have been yours, and now they're on the back foot.
What if we had ETC changed to where if you hit the center of the stage dive, you get like this huge stun, the outer ring gets a slow?
Yeah, we'll call it Sulfurous ETC Smash.
You know what? I'm totally in for that. I mean, now all we need is for a giant power slide to create a lava wave behind it. It's like shredding, right? I think he has one like aggressive shredding already.
Yeah.
But just it creates a wake.
Yeah, like an echo pedal that just goes and just launches through everything and kills all the minions and be one shot. That'd be cool.
I almost want to keep going down this rabbit hole.
Let's talk about his passive.
Do you miss his old one?
Please stop. Please.
Do you miss his old one?
No.
His old one though. Get that extra attack speed. They're like, look, we're sorry, we'll give you extra attack speed by yourself. It's still there. Either way, first pick has won every single game so far. As you know, first pick, win, win, win. And now it's going to be LFM. Can they change it up? Do they try and take map pick this time around as they gave it up last time, or are they willing to concede and give that over? Again, Infernal Shrines was the one battleground in their previous series, I think week 4, that Simplicity was able to take a map. Outside of that, it was a 3-1 series for LFM. So I am curious if first pick does have that high priority for both these teams, and if so, where will the other team be willing to take us?
I currently don't know. I would like to see a macro-focused battleground. If I'm LFM, I go, that's the weakest point of Simplicity. That's where I can take them out, so find a way to be able to make that happen. Like, Tomb is the first thing that comes to my brain, and I'd be like, find a way to get that out macro and control. But again, if we look at Dragonshire, how they play with their draft, it's making it difficult because I feel like we have moments where we saw LFM, and they had really good, again, like the night camp rotation. That was them being very, very smart with the decision making, even though it's not very clear at first glance. They are very well thought through on their Sky Temple play, but then the failure to play to their compositional advantages on Dragonshire make it go like, I don't know if I want to map as confusing as Tomb can be.
You know what is not confusing is Tomb, because that's going to be our next battleground as we are going to go there for level 4. So we do get this pickup. It is going to be LFM prioritizing first pick, giving that map control over to Simplicity. When they don't have towers, it looks like they're going to take us to Tomb. Interesting pickup here by Simplicity.
Oh, man.
They've picked this. Of their battlegrounds, they've picked Towers 6 times. That's banned out. Volskaya 3 times. And Tomb is their next best at 2 when they pick that up.
But then it goes back to, like, well, looking at game 1, if they struggle with the composition in the draft, but they ended up getting the win, it's like, do you just draft that same playstyle and expect LFM to make the same mistakes, or do we see them adjust on that? You know, that's where I kind of feel at this point in time. It's the biggest thing I feel like I want, as long as K1 Pro is on a character that he's going to have high impact on, they're probably going to be more successful here. And I feel like the Jaina of the last game very much was a large reason they were at that success level.
There's one other common denominator. First pick, every team that's won has Muradin. These are teams that play very well around Muradin. I think that, you know, we've pointed that out. Diablo's been banned out across the board each step of the way. And then Muradin has been that pickup before second ban. The Garrosh struggled. The ETC has struggled. So I think it's time to see if one of these teams is willing to early pick a Muradin, because I think it fits the playstyle of both these teams very well. We know Fury loves Muradin. Huge playmaker, post 13-16. Same for King Caffeine. It's the way that they survive in that back line. I think making plays the other direction has been difficult for both of these players.
I think as long as Anubarak is out of the question for these teams, that should be the process. But once a team starts picking up the Anubarak, I feel as if, though, the Muradin will fall out of flavor a little bit, because right now he is the only gap closer with an immediate crowd control, hard CC to get kill potential to any of the Warriors outside of Anubarak in this type of situation.
There is one.
I mean, ETC, but he goes into beef mode.
There is another.
Who is it?
Varian.
Oh, okay. First of all, he's not a warrior. He's multi-class. Second of all, one of his roles that makes him we're going to use the word a warrior, but I call a assassin with a little bit of crowd control and a little bit more health than most assassins, and that might be an overstatement.
One shot, one kill. What's the deal?
He doesn't count.
He's been played one time. I believe that was by Fury. I wish I could say that it had a win. It did not. But it is something to consider. I think the Muradin has to be there. Outside of that, Johanna, the only of these two players, we've seen more Johanna, definitely from King Caffeine. This is a very Johanna-oriented map. You could also pair that well with the Jaina that we saw last game from K1 Pro. So if things worse comes to worse and you don't feel comfortable with Garrosh, you're just being CC'd like crazy and you're just like, guys, I can't get in. And ETC is the pick, and you're like, But what if we lock in the variant?
On Tomb, just never. Okay, let's be real here, JL. I've never supported variant picks. Like, they're like almost never. Well, I look at them and be like, yeah, that's the variant pick that won the game. And more often than not, I go, there's probably somebody else, or you made a draft misstep. If you got kind of pinch hold that hard to need that level of crowd control with that little wave clear in those type of situations here. But I'm thankful that we've only gotten ourselves one of the variant picks. Like,
I remember in the biggest of stages at midseason brawl when we all saw the variant pick and JPL locked it in, we're like, oh Lord, this is not good. Like, this is definitely not. And then they came out. Obviously that was a miracle comeback, but there's always that glimmer of hope. Just a little is all you need.
He is the Toronto of Warriors. Very linear on how he approaches the game. Very little wave clear. And that is why I'm not a huge fan. But good thing.
Oh, trust me. Look, I'm just trying to say what else other than ETC at this point.
I get it, because at this point it feels like, we got to dig pretty deep here for North America. Very different meta than I expected going into day number 1. But so far here when it comes to the bans, a bit standard. Hammer, Maev, Diablo, Genji. Who will take the Deckard? Yrel still going to stick to the first pick here for Swabs in LFM.
Look, I can tell you one thing. I did some deep diving, right? I can't reveal all the secrets that I get throughout the week, but I can tell you one thing is that there's some rumors I've heard of some potential compositions that could come in, could just really shake up the way that we look at Heroes of the Storm. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, a lot to be said. I think it's more niche situations, but we'll see who's brave enough to do it. All I can say is, if it actually does happen, you're going to be like, "What is this?" It'll be something you've never seen before.
I refuse to believe that. You underestimate how much Heroes of the Storm I've watched.
Okay, I'll tell you about it in the car, but you got to make sure and zip it up, lock it. Whitemane got to be the pickup with a Junkrat here. So another attempt at Whitemane. Junkrat obviously has that strong wave clear.
Whitemane in the 2-3 for LFM on Tomb of the Spider Queen. It's an interesting choice from them. Judging by the other support priorities in this point in time, and I honestly expected them to be willing to put it below the secondary ban phase. To me, again, with her being a newer hero, this indicates a more unique pick, or depending on the synergy that maybe they were concerned with the ban before. It's going to be, I don't know, interesting as we watch this kind of unfold here into the draft. It just feels like that is more of a tell in a different direction here that we're still yet to kind of see as the meta's unfolding.
So Johanna's banned out, which means Simplicity most likely picking up Muradin, who's gone conspicuously absent here again. Blaze going to be banned out by LFM, which means that Garrosh ETC starts to come to mind when we do go back to LFM. But for now, Simplicity does have that Rainer. The Rainer could potentially pair that with the Muradin again. There it is.
Dahaka, Muradin. Dahaka on Tomb. I mean, not going to have the global advantage that maybe you would like, but he's not a terrible pick by any means. This is when I go, I'd like to see a Leo from LFM, like something like that. And it's be like, oh, we already have the Yrel. Why are you going to need that? Just any amount of massive control and pressure they can apply to Dahaka, because with the Junkrat, with the Leo off clear and things like Dahaka is not going to have the global pressure you'd like. And the long sustained fight Simplicity is implying, you'd be able to dominate into later stages. A hero who does cater to that a little bit would be Medivh, but the one who very much doesn't is that Garrosh.
I'm just going to say this. There was a small part of me that was hoping that was a choke-all.
It would make the Whitemane pickup more sense to my brain, and the fact that that's why the deviation comes in. But, oh, man, I don't know how I feel about that one.
All right, second damage dealer. Do we get a Tassadar? Do we get a Jaina? Do we get another type of mage style?
I'd like a Jaina.
Ooh, there we go.
Tassadar will provide a lot when it comes to the wave clear. Tassadar Rainer, very different than Tassadar Vola. Not as much gap closing, but definitely more damage output overall. Very much play into me, and Jimmy's going to give you some pepper.
There's so much control. You always got to look at slows, which is when Garrosh started to fall off in the meta, it was because Phoenix came in and Jaina started to come in. And you look at how much slow control they had over Garrosh. Garrosh had trouble engaging, which I think is why we see the Medivh here. So you do get the Medivh play, you get the potential portal in. But when it's not around the portal in, Tassadar has built-in slows on his auto. Muradin can always dwarf toss out, has slow on his thunderclap. Jimmy Rayner, post level 7, got his own slow on his pepper, plus has a knockback. Deckard has slow. He was another hero that came in and really thwarted the engagements of Garrosh. So I think the Medivh pickup here is almost paramount to the success that LFM could have, because outside of that, his just standard engagements are so limited that it will require portals, especially more towards the later game when you get the portal taunts, things of that nature, for LFM to pull this off.
But I think what is the coolest part about that is all those versions you highlighted before when we would see that drafted, that's with the Garrosh and the 2-3 and the Junkrat and the response, but that's not the draft we see. Yeah. This is with the Junkrat and the 2-3, and then the Garrosh Medivh comes out, and I feel like it's purely on that draft adjustment by getting that Junkrat out, so you don't have the, oh, here's our Medivh Garrosh composition, and here's your concussion mine, see ya, GG, no re. It's an adjustment from LFM, but part of the reason they can get away with this composition.
Here we go. Game 4, LFM trying to hold on in this game. A lot of it will be around the Medivh Garrosh composition. We'll see how it unfolds, as Figgy will be the one on the Junkrat.
I want to say I want to love it. Like, anytime I see Medivh Garrosh, Medivh in general, I still share that same opinion of I think he can break the rules of Heroes of the Storm and changes pretty much the entirety of the way the game has to be played. I think they can always pull out the win there, but I will say it demands a lot of team coordination here, Jay-How, and that is something that Simplicity, since they're entering, or excuse me, LFM since entering the HGC, has been, I don't want to say their weakness because I don't think it's fair to put it at that, but definitely, you know, something that they've been looking to work on. So we'll see if it comes to light at all here in this composition. Another thing I want to know is Swabs on the Yrel. I feel like he's had really high impact hammers, but not so much when looking towards the leap. A lot of the leaps seem to be more offensively focused, and I can't help but feel like, is he getting as much value out of his level 4 armor opportunities as he possibly could? You know, because when we were watching, especially at the Eastern Clash, so many defensive Yrellis come in and just until literally they're about to win the fight, and very much feels like it's a different case here for LFM, and definitely Swabs.
Still waiting to pick up our first white main win here in North America for the day. Droplets continuing to get out those Q stacks on the Medivh. It's a good point, right? Because it's never been like, how good are you at Medivh? You could be the best Medivh in the world, but you cannot just walk into a team and say, hey, we're a good team now, right? Hey, we've got the best Medivh player. It's always been about, you have to be a Medivh team. And then it's a matter of how much can you commit to practicing Medivh if Medivh's in the meta and then he just gets banned out every game. And so how much are you willing to put practice into being a Medivh team when you know that you're very rarely going to be able to play a Medivh? And it's because he functions unlike any other hero in the game, I think it's always a great point to bring up that it's never just about, is your Medivh good? It's a matter of, are you a good Medivh team? And it's so hard to be proficient at that.
And part of the reason I always harp so much on Medivh, beyond the impact he has with the mobility provided, great interrupt there, by the way, from Fury defending over that channel. Beyond the portal play and the mobility and what that provides for you defensively and offensively, and the fact that he provides an invulnerability shield with his force of will, is that he makes rotations and shot calling so different. A simple example right there, right? After this clear over the night camp, everybody could take that portal, beat the 1-4 rotation faster than you see out of Simplicity. And those are things that, as a shot caller, you take it for granted. You know, expecting the rotations of your opponent. Hold on, this Stormbolt setting Fury possibly low enough for a kill there. It just takes away a lot of the things that you become, your internal clock becomes normalized on. Oh, okay, they died, they're going to be here in 5 seconds. Well, the answer is with Medivh, they're there 5 seconds earlier. And those type of things, when abused well, suddenly make Heroes of the Storm a lot faster pace.
King Caffeine goes in for the dive. Obviously, no real kill potential there. It has been something in North America, especially at level 4 for Yrel. We had seen some Hands of Freedom, things to deal with the potential roots, the combos that could come out for Deckard compositions, things of that nature. But I think especially after the Eastern Clash and the way that teams are using that level 4, it's almost too good to pass up.
It is. I mean, it's like, it's unfair to say this, but like basically view it as a baby tranquility every 1 second. Like, that's kind of what it is. It's making your effective HP 35% greater, which tranquility is not the best healing numbers when you look at it immediately, outside of the armor provided later on. And its uptime is near, non-existent, or excuse me, its downtime is near non-existent. So part of the reason that talent has become a staple, I'm glad that we see it picked up more often. one of the few times I would definitely be frustrated if we did end up not taking from the Eastern scene. But Web Weavers, and at least turn-ins, at least for now, not too much of an advantage gained either way. Great job from LFM. Actually, Zuna's missing quite a bit of experience here just to try and get that interrupt. And giving a free couple of stacks over to Droplets, who now rounding 28 of the 40 necessary.
Simplicity is yet to turn in a single jump. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's due to the lack of trying, but I will say it's due to the lack of effort, if that's different than trying, because it seems like they could have the control. Nice shield's going to come in here, but the damage in return, that's a 1-for-1 on our damage dealers between Junkrat and Raynor.
Exactly what I expect to see, though, if we ever look away from K1 Pro in a 1-versus-1, is him walking away at like 5% HP going calculated. Great job there by K1 Pro to just try and take advantage of the laning mismatch, but really nothing lost by LFM. It is interesting, though, because when you look at Medivh compositions, you don't normally say they're going to win the wave clear so hard that they are going to be able to bully you. Yeah, they might be able to get a couple of cheeky turn-ins because of a portal or rotational advantage, but that's not the way LFM is playing this. That they're just playing a very, kind of standard laning situation, but Simplicity still so little interest or effort as we're putting it here towards getting those Web Weavers. To me, I feel like it shows that they look for the later stages of the game just in general for any kind of momentum swing into their favor, not considering too much over the laning ganking opportunities.
Well, Medivh definitely taking a different stab at it, obviously going into the Arcane Rift, getting that bonus attack within 6 seconds, deals 40% more damage and heals for the same percentage of the damage dealt. So definitely a different take on the build. Obviously we've seen some changes to the other level 7 talents, most notably the Force of Will. So that will be different.
Once you finish your Master's Touch, that does put it at every auto attack. As long as you end up hitting your Q, does give you that empowered sustain. And what I really like about this talent is what it does provide for you is a single target trading capabilities, which is one of the biggest problems post reabsorption rework that we have seen on Medivhs. We used to see old Medivhs be willing to take trade ups into 1-versus-1s and then be willing to drop the self shield onto himself, take enough trade out of the reabsorption, and then really make the game extremely problematic. Since we see the timer on the shielding change and the portals change, that playstyle has died out drastically. But what you can do if you end up going this route is still take the 1v1 capabilities while still having the portal opportunities. It just, takes away, again, from your overall team fight. But I personally enjoy the fact that we get some kind of mix-up here from Droplets.
Continue to keep an eye on how effective that will be, as right now, Simplicity just struggling to find any turn-in at all. Sitting on 83 gems. 0 turned in. For LFM, they've had a hard time as of late getting any turned in. They did get some early turn-ins, which is why we see them sitting on 24. But these teams are essentially ignoring lanes and just going full in as King Caffeine dives in to make sure and pick up some lost gems there to make sure and not drop too many.
83 gems reside in the hands of Simplicity. But if LFM is able to get this Web Weaver phase for themselves, I feel like it's going to be a lot more successful there with that Junkrat pressure out. I guess that in mind, Yrel, the Whitemane, and hold on, Medivh don't really have that good of wave clear themselves. Zuna out on an island there, 35 gems in his hand. Tiger JK trying to get the heals over the wall, throwing out as many potions as he can. There goes down the portal. And look at that, LFM zone off all of those gems lost. There were some gems able to turn in on the opposite side of the battleground for Simplicity, but that is a devastating loss there over Zuna.
Yeah, I mean, when you go in, obviously you pop this Dark Swarm to be able to get the interrupt, and that cost him because your Dark Swarm does allow you to pass through enemy targets. So when you give that up just for denial, when you try and walk away, you can't just as easily pass through, which is why we saw a very good approach by Swabs on that Yrel, making sure to get the slows, the body blocks, things of that nature. And at that point, it's very difficult to make your way out. Now we see LFM taking advantage of that. They're up 3 kills to 1. Got the first Web Weaver turn in. Now they're going to turn their attention to the bot lane, and both teams already picked up heroics.
Now we really get to see, how good of a Medivh team is LFM here with the rotations and gap closing capabilities there with the portal. Be able to make these Web Weavers that much more impactful than debatably they would be without the Medivh pickup. For now, they showed interest towards bottom. Now the 4-man collapse over mid. If they're going to make a play, this is the place to make it happen. His top Web Weaver has already been dealt with. Portal transition toward bottom are going to grab a Polybomb, but no major kill potential there. And that is, again, the cheekiness of the cut-off time in a rotation, but not a major success for LFM. So Simplicity, as long as they can get a Web Weaver phase, this is still an opportunity for them to gain control here of this game.
Yeah, I think their bigger problem is the long-term picture, and they need kills, and they need kills to essentially take gems away from LFM. Because they lost so many off of that Zuna death in that bot lane, they do find themselves at an overall deficit when you look at the totality of gems turned in plus what you already have in your pocket. So it is still a deficit that they find themselves in, but if they can start to get structures, start to get kills off of that, definitely can turn this game around in their favor.
Zuna ended up burning that burrow there along with the polybomb coming through. Droplets surely has enough damage there. Maybe not with that level 7. Drag is going to be available, but it's a whiff there. If it had landed, maybe a kill potential opportunity, but this provides a moment here for LFM on the top half of the battleground to maybe drop in some of those gems that they have available. K1 Pro and that pesky little Raider getting the delay there.
Should be able to toss that thing.
That
as Gerash, you just grab it.
Should be able to just do something other than let it float at you and hurt.
Oh, there's going to be a toss taunt, but Dimensional Shift is out. Not enough damage for follow-up as Fury comes in, takes that portal. Able to walk away for now. There's going to be the Groundbreaker. Fury continuing to hold point. Medivh scouting for now. Simplicity still desperate to get their first Web Weaver turn in. And right now, this game has lived and breathed at these turn-in points, Dred.
It very much has, and Uralla's been constantly winning the 1v1 into Zuna there on the bottom lane. So my question is when's the brush talk really going to come online? Otherwise, LFM is likely going to get this next Web Weaver phase for themselves with how much control they've been able to make happen. Swabs did make the transition towards mid for a moment, giving that temporary lapse here to Simplicity, but with the LFM having the 13 talents here, it's in the time frame that they want. Droplets ends up getting the drag onto him. Force of will be available. Not needed though. Swabs gives him the armor. Polybomb there along with the flip over. Indomitable use. Riptire drop. King Caffeine actually keeps himself alive.
He's alive for now as Lornado has generated enough space to put a reset onto this fight. Second wind will kick in, allow Muradin to heal back up, but does that buy them the time and space to get the turn in? It looks like Zuna should be able to complete that. Yeah, you could see King Caffeine even preemptively threw that out to see if he could time that. Had Medivh dropped down a half second earlier, it would have been stunned out. We'll see what happens, but Hosty, see if he has that Dimensional Shift still available with the Archon.
Yeah, Archon there, but Dark Chimera is now going to be the focus on that white main, trying to cut away. Verity for now. Auto attacks coming through as long with that side storm, but Swabs slamming down the hammer, giving that armor over. Great Dwarf Toss out, allowing Zuna and the friends to retreat from that polybomb. Web Weaver's now going to be here for Simplicity, but they need to make it count. They do not have the best sieging opportunities. Raynor is a large majority of their sieging damage here, and he's going to be able to join in with Tassadar. See if Simplicity can find a fort here over this temporary spike.
Indomitable used there to walk away from that route there as the setup continues to come in. Simplicity starting to siege up, get some structures down, hopefully take some lead, some control over this. They are sitting on a lot of gems beyond this, so if they can just create space. Sometimes it's a matter of just creating space with the push, getting enough structure damage down, then doubling down on everything and getting that. As we see Fury, there's going to be the portal in.
Portal in with the polybomb. Lornado actually pushing away. Medivh, Droplets able to make it back into that portal. Escape Fury not going to get the same escape, but he gets the Force of Will. He's keeping himself up. The slow lands along with the Stormbolt. The two-man route as well coming in by Tiger JK. Dark Chimera is going to be the focus along with Fury. And now there are about 40 gems left on the battlefield for LFM, and nobody able to make it out and pick them up. Simplicity keeping their fight back here when looking at the deficit on those gems. They heard that, you know, yeah, the loss on Zuna early game, it mattered. But now we're back at even.
LFM, proper response, picking up the camp here, making sure to defend against the Web Weaver phase. But now Hosty and team, they've sniffed this out. There's no talent tier advantage, but there's a numbers advantage. So if they take this away from LFM, this is a major power play here for Simplicity as they do take control of that. That would have been great for defense, but they just did not have the damage to get that down quick enough. So now for Simplicity, starting to take control, starting to look towards 16, maybe get 2 forts down, look for another pick beyond this. So far, the momentum shift is significant.
Yeah, 1 fort is inevitable during this Web Weaver phase, and that is just about enough to kiss them over the 16 ranges. That experience just trickling up as Dahaka getting that top soak here. So Simplicity will have the 16 window for a pretty large time and be able to defend one of those Web Weavers. Posturing over bottom shows that they're going to look for the response on the top half of the battleground and then worry about middle and bottom, because the rotation between those two lanes far easier and faster than the top lane. That is why we see the emphasis there. And it's just when will Brush Talk make its transition down, and how much damage can Simplicity make happen with the 16 talent tier?
There's a
That
nice
is a
taunt.
huge win. Huge win for LFM. That is absolutely worst case scenario here for Simplicity. And now LFM should just constantly get a free clear, everything they like over these web weavers, get the 16, and then try and force this turn in while Zuna's dead.
Yeah, King Caffeine does get the dwarf toss out. There's going to be the slow and the root in return. It's a concussion mine knocking up Rainer's Raider there that puts it right on top of Figgy as he ends up taking that portal out.
They will not be able to clear the web weavers fast enough to stop a turn-in opportunity in the time frame that Zuna is back online, as there are 10 seconds after you end up getting the web weaver clear until that is available. And now 7 seconds out from Dahaka. Not going to be a true story, but Tassadar caught out down below completely on an island there. Dimensional shift already popped, I believe twice, yeah, and ends up going down. Great chase there by LFM, catching out Tassadar. And Jayhow, this is back and forth here. LFM just catching every member of Simplicity out.
It seemed like Simplicity
no way.
found their way into it. Now Simplicity, they're trying to sneak in a boss play here. This is going to be terrifying because Medivh will take control of this. You still have the taunt available. Zuna, see if he gets stuck in here. King Caffeine just trying to zone the best he can. Instead, this will be LFM. They do pick up the web weavers. Urel on the bottom, picking up the siege camp, and them getting the pick onto the Dahaka and onto the Tassadar. It seemed like that momentum shift was a far cry ago. But I think about it, and I'm like, man, that was only like 1 minute ago.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
That was like
here?
20 seconds ago, JL. Like, that was legitimately a fraction of a second. This is ridiculous how much control LFM has been able to find. They do not have any fort down yet, which is very, very necessary for them to kind of dictate a lot of the movement over the battleground with the Medivh. They need to find a way to group force at least a minimum of that middle fort down, along with bottom would be ideal based on the rotational advantages.